Welcome to our regularly scheduled monthly meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Actually, let me start out a little bit with our Zoom. If you are attending by Zoom or by phone, you can use the raised hand feature to let us know that you either want to speak when it is public comment, or if anyone is actually zooming in for an appeal. If you're calling in by phone, you can use the *9 feature on your phone. We will call upon you when it's time for you to speak. Let us know where you're calling from, and then please, you can comment on any particular case. The BZA members are volunteers and receive no compensation. They are appointed by the City Commission for a staggered 3-year terms. Under state statutes, the BZA hears 3 types of appeals. We hear dimensional or non-use variances, including sign variances. We hear use variances, and we hear interpretation or appeals of interpretation or rulings of building officials or other boards regarding any provision of the zoning ordinance. Tonight we have 5 cases, and they are all dimensional. For a dimensional variance, it requires an affirmative vote of 4, and we have a full board here, so you need 4 affirmative. Our procedure is all comments are to be addressed to myself, the chair. Please wait to be recognized. The city staff will make a presentation regarding the appeal and take questions from the board. The appellant is then invited to present their case. Only one person may speak on any particular appeal. I can grant exceptions for technical items like an architect or an engineer. Members of the public are then invited to come forward, identify themselves, and provide comments to the board. The hearing is then closed, and motions from the board are entertained and acted upon. In all cases, this is not a popularity contest. Granting or denying a variance is based substantially on the appellant meeting their burden of proof. Can we please call the roll of the board members?
Eric Morgenroth.
Here.
Jason Canvasser.
Here.
Kevin Hart.
Here.
Richard Lilly.
Here.
John Miller. Ron Reddy.
Here.
Pierre Yalva.
Here.
Carl Cornell.
Here.
Donald Rogers.
Here.
I will now call the roll for the appellants for case number 2505 for 774 Lakeside. Is someone here? Thank you. For 1792 Banbury. Thank you. For 719 Larchley.
Here.
Thank you. For 1000 Shirley. Thank you. And for 488 Willets. Thank you. There is some additional correspondence I see. Do we have everything, Mr. Zilke?
Yes.
Very good. And have the appellants all received copies?
Yes.
Very good. We do have a few announcements. We have a board member that is resigning, so sounds like Mr. Well, go ahead. Say you can say you're moving out of the
Sure.
city,
Yep.
correct? Yeah.
So, Mr. Chairman, I will be announcing my resignation tonight. I will be departing the city of Birmingham in the near future, so will no longer be a resident and regretfully must resign from the board. So it's been a pleasure to serve with you all. So.
Thank you for serving.
Likewise.
So you'll send an email to the city saying that you're resigning, and then we can do a search for an additional board member. But thank you for serving.
Thank you.
So looks like before you board members, you have the minutes from the last regularly scheduled meeting. I did.
Wait.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right.
Before you board members, you have the minutes from the last regularly scheduled meeting. Do we have any amendments? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
I would move to approve the minutes from last month, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Let Mr. Kona do that.
Mr. Kona, thank you for that. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Minutes are approved. We will move on to our appeals.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
first case, I'm going to need to recuse myself.
Okay. How are you involved with this particular
Yes.
case?
Yes.
Okay.
So with your permission, I wanted to recuse myself.
Okay, is there any questions for Mr. Hart? Seeing none, you can recuse yourself.
Thank you.
Our alternate will come on up. So our first case tonight is 2505 for 774 Lakeside. Mr. Zilke?
Jeff Zilke here to present case 25-05, property known as 774 Lakeside. Request the following variance for a single-story rear addition and a second-floor addition. Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.06.2 of the zoning ordinance requires that the maximum lot coverage is 30% of a lot in the residential zones. The required for this lot of 30% would be 3,372.90 square feet. The existing is 30.60%, which is 3,445 square feet, which is existing non-conforming. The proposed is 31.1%, which is 3,501 square feet. Therefore, a variance of 1.10% is being requested, and that variance amount is 128.10 square feet. Variance B, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.062 of the zoning ordinance requires that the minimum rear yard setback is 30 feet. The existing rear yard setback is 10.70 feet. The proposed is 20.90 feet for the mudroom on the first floor. Therefore, a variance of 9.10 feet is being requested. Variance C, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.06.2 of the zoning ordinance requires that a minimum rear yard setback is 30 feet. The existing rear yard setback of the existing home is 24.25 feet. That proposed is 24.25 feet for the second floor addition. Therefore, a variance of 5.75 feet is being requested. The applicant was in front of the board last month. It was adjourned for further looking into reduce the variance amount. Let me zoom in on here. So a little history, the existing garage, this is where the existing garage is at 10.7 feet to the rear lot line. This area for the proposed area is for the mudroom is the addition for the first floor addition, which is the variance B. And then variance C is a second floor addition going over this portion, the existing portion of the house, which is creating the 5.75 foot variance for the 30 foot rear yard setback. There was some reductions in it. They shrank the mudroom down by 2 feet from the last meeting. And the deck in the back, they reduced the deck in the back to kind of bring it a little bit more in conformance. So the overall percentage of the square footage is 128, which the existing non-conforming, it came out to be about 56 square feet additional, putting it up to the 1.1% overage. And if you have any questions.
So when you say that they reduced the deck, you're saying, was this a deck they were adding, or this is the existing deck and they're just showing on the plan that they're going to reduce it?
So the existing deck, if you can kind of see this dotted line, they actually reduced this down, shrank it back, because the ordinance says you can do a deck off the back of the house, you can go 15 feet, and it doesn't count for lot coverage, but you can't reduce the backyard to less than 15 feet. So they pulled that back to be the 15 feet, clearing the back, which basically takes that out of the equation of the lot coverage, since it's not behind the rear of the house. And that was some of the reduction. They did pull the mudroom back, listening to everybody last month, a couple feet back, so that really reduced the overage on it.
Very good. Other questions for Mr. Zilke? Please.
Can you scroll back in on that? It says demo, nope, go down a little bit. Demo 49 square feet portion of existing deck at the lower portion?
So this deck did wrap around the corner on the outside of it, so they reduced it and they got rid of that all together. And with getting this out, taking this portion of the deck out, and then reduced that whole square footage of the deck. This is actually in the rear yard, so it would have been permitted. It's not the side yard, but they took that out of there, that 49 square feet. And with some of that reduction, they actually pulled that down and reduced that overage. Before it was, last month it was at 3.1% over, so an additional 2% was reduced out of this from the appeal for today.
Okay, and then I appreciate where they're pointing out the variances. I see B, C, where are the other variances on that?
So overage, A is the
A is
overall
overage.
lot coverage, B would be this mudroom, and then C is actually the addition going over the existing portion of this shaded area. So this dotted line is the 30-foot rear yard setback. So that mudroom goes out, so that's reducing the rear yard a little bit, and then also that existing area going over the existing house, which is already existing, non-conforming as it sits, but they're putting a second floor on top of that area.
And just going straight up there?
It's straight up.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Suzuki? Mr. Kona?
So, looking at the changes and the reduction they made to the deck size, it appears the only overage is the mudroom.
Yeah. I mean, within a sense, yeah.
Yeah, so basically they were already over existing, and now they're going 0.5% more to be 31.1%. So there's nothing more they could do other than not put the mudroom on.
Right, and I know, I let the appellant speak of it as someone who's access into the garage. And
No, yeah, I understood that, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the city? Seeing none?
Oh, it's my turn.
Your turn. Wouldn't mind telling us your name again and your address?
Hi, my name is Eve Hadley. I live at 462 Pilgrim in Birmingham. Dear members of the board, we appreciate the opportunity to restate our case at the second hearing for the 774 Lakeside Drive variance request. Reminder, the existing non-conforming dwelling was built in the 1940s. It preceded existing ordinance by several decades. It's a 1 foot 1 inch front setback and 19 feet 2 inch in the rear setback with a current non-conforming lot coverage of 30.6%. So we'll look at A, the lot coverage of 30% or 3372.9 square feet allotment. Since the last meeting, the proposed first floor mudroom was reduced by 2 feet or 16 square feet. So the actual current size of this room is 8 feet by 6 feet. The existing coverage is 30.6, which is 3,445 square feet. The proposed coverage is now 31.1%, which is 3,501 square feet. The proposed addition is 56 square feet, or 0.43% of the overage of the 129 square foot overage. The addition is just large enough to allow the south door to the deck from the laundry/mudroom. The hardship here is a small width of the existing garage door does not allow for a clear path of egress. The homeowner has lived in this, or has purchased this house within the year, and they have a nephew that exited the garage, and the door, where the door was locked, he got stuck in there because he couldn't open the door to the outside because the car was, too far forward because it's such a very, very narrow garage. So that's one issue. Another issue is the doors do not swing open fully when there are 2 cars in the garage. The door to the outside can be completely blocked. So it's seen for the homeowner as a safety issue. Both the door to the outside and the door from the home into the garage. Another hardship is the bottleneck at the base of the existing master suite stairs. The new layout allows for a clear exit path to the garage and outside. Laundry door will be removed and changed to a cased opening. This modest request has no adverse effect on neighboring properties. The substantial justice here is the improvement allows owners a safe condition without any effect to the neighbors, both safety into the garage and safety outside of the home on that side of the home. There were 2 extra things that we addressed as a goodwill mitigation, the rear yard deck was also reduced by 112 square feet, so it now sits at 15 foot from the rear property line. And the front and side yard masonry flat work had been reduced by 293 square feet. The mudroom also is at its minimum based on the configurations of the two doors. That's the smallest we could get. So it's really quite a interior passageway, not so much a mudroom, although we use that mudroom name. So for B, for this first story rear yard 30-foot setback requirement, the existing garage sits at 10.7 feet from the property line, which is 19.3 feet into the setback. The mitigation since the last meeting, the proposed mudroom extension was reduced by 2 feet. The variance is now sitting at 9.110 feet. The hardship on this allows direct exit access to the exterior of the home without going through the garage at that area of the house. So C, the second story rear yard 30-foot setback requirement. The existing support wall is 24.25 feet from the property line, which is 5.75 feet into the rear yard setback. This is existing, The proposed second floor wall is bearing down on the existing wall below and is 24.2 feet from the property line. It is the same set 5.75 feet into the rear yard setback. The proposed second floor addition will not go beyond the existing footprint in any form. The design sensibly stacks the new walls over the existing walls below seamlessly. The only hardship would be if they considered moving the proposed master suite out of the 5.75 foot encroachment. It would cause major destruction to the existing walls and ceilings below. It would create a complicated structure that would require very expensive, disjointed, and improper geometry. So the proposed design maintains the original coffered ceiling detail in the library below, which is minimum destruction of the home. The substantial justice is the proposed second-story improvement is positioned toward the rear of the property with less massing at the front of the house, minimizing the appearance of the property, excuse me. The lower impact approach would be substantial justice to the neighbors and the owners. The proposed addition is in keeping with the fabric and rhythm of the neighboring homes. In closing, we appreciate the board allowing us to clarify and clearly state the details of this modest addition. I appreciate your good work in this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the appellant?
Mr. Chair.
Please.
Ma'am, would you go over, just to make sure I have this straight in my mind, with regards to the issue between the existing doors that are going to be removed into and out of the garage, what the issue is there?
Okay, so you see the stairway, the current door right there.
Maybe go down to the plan where it shows the existing garage without the addition. That's the one I'm looking at. That's the one. Thank you.
Okay, so currently there are two doors. So this garage, the garage is so narrow that with 2 cars in it, this door, which is 2 feet 6 inches from the inside of the house into the garage, the door doesn't fully open.
Okay.
Right? So the homeowner actually parks the car in the garage and has to go around into the driveway and into the other entrance because they cannot get into that door. Also, if you had to, the other problem they found is that they can't take the door to the outside and get out because the car also impedes in that area. So they're looking to address those 2 major issues
Okay.
for safety reasons.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, it looks like the sidewall of the garage, where the garage door is, Jeff, can you move your hands at that spot right there? Looks like that depth is almost equivalent to the width of the door, so I'm surprised when they pull in, they're that close to that door that they can't open the door. You know what I'm saying? It's not as if there isn't some meat of house between the garage door and the wall, unless they're pulling in at an angle. You know what I'm saying?
The width of the garage, can we?
That sidewall,
Yeah, but the width of the garage is way less than a normal double garage. So my understanding is, you see this rear yard setback? If I was driving my car in, I kind of follow my car parallel to that line because the other car that comes in kind of hugs the left, and that gives me about 2 to 3 feet
Right, so as I
clearance to get
suggested,
out.
they're not parking straight into the garage, they're
Yeah,
parking at an angle.
Yes, yeah.
So honestly, any door that swings there,
Yeah,
even if it was a,
or even going around.
yeah, there's no
Yeah,
scenario
there's
because of the
nothing.
angle that they're parking, right, okay.
Yeah,
Just wanted to
so-
clarify why that was a problem. Any other questions for the appellant?
Mr. Chair.
Sir.
I'm just curious, they have the width of the garage, but do we know what the depth is?
It's 19 feet. I do not know which.
So with that, shifting the entrance to the house to the back, there's enough room between the front of the car and the back wall, so it's an easier entrance to the house. Is that kind of the rationale?
Well, it's also swinging in, so the door becomes a non-issue, the way that they're currently drawing it.
Okay.
Mr. Conda, you have a question?
Yeah, hypothetically, if you didn't get the lot coverage variance, but still proceeded to get approval for the other variances, how would you proceed with your client?
I'm not sure
Even more.
how to mitigate it with a door swinging to the outside of the garage, because it's not a practice into weather, right? Can't be, the outside garage door couldn't be in the middle where that AC unit is. That doesn't make any sense either. I don't know. It was turn around and round, and the hope and expectation is that addressing these two safety issues with 56 square feet, just a pass-through, an interior pass-through, would be accepted to mitigate these two safety issues. There's also no real way out of the house, outside on that side of the house. So, especially if you're upstairs in the master and that, let's say there was an event in the kitchen below, you couldn't run down the stairs and go through this side door, right through whatever it is. You'd have to get out some other way. So I don't know.
Thank you.
Because you can't,
I guess to Mr. Kona's comment, so you're suggesting that the mudroom could be smaller to remove the variance if you didn't need that additional door because of the,
no, I'm not. No, the two doors, that mudroom is exactly minimum because of the door configuration to the outside based on the home. See, there's.
right, but
Yeah.
if the door to the outside were, let's say, where the existing laundry room windows were, or if you added a door to all the different exterior walls of the garage that are unused, notwithstanding the AC unit, then the need to get to the outside like the previous garage could be accomplished through the garage because you have two walls except for the AC unit that would allow for an exterior door.
The only reason why this pass-through works is because it's inside. right? It's not changing an exterior door to swing out.
But a pass-through isn't really practical. You don't go in the, you don't leave the garage, enter the home to then exit again. If you wanted to get outside from the garage, you would go through the 16-foot wide door. I mean, I get that if this is your scenario, this is how it works, but the two don't work together. Nobody goes into the mudroom to then go outside when they're coming in from the outside. Like, that's not a safety issue.
Well, it's just a safety issue getting from the inside of the house to the outside, not from the garage to the outside.
Right, from an area that's this side of the house that isn't the garage. No, I get that. I'm just trying to address your specific reasoning. That's the part that doesn't make sense, but I get the practicality of having as many exterior doors as you're comfortable. Right. Any other questions for the appellant? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. In the audience or online, does anybody not affiliated with this particular appeal have any comments about this appeal? I'm not seeing anything, guys. I will close public comment. Board members.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
with regards to Appeal 25-05, known as 774 Lakeside, I would move to approve A, B, and C tied to the plans. We have a pre-existing non-conforming home dating back to 1948. There's three specific requests here. I think the appellant has done a good job of addressing our concerns from last board meeting. The addition of the mudroom, I feel, is a relatively modest addition designed to help flow in the house. With regards to the setback, some of that's pre-existing non-conforming. They've tried to mitigate it, particularly by reducing the size of the mudroom, as well as reducing some of the deck size. And then with regards to the second story setback, variance C, it appears to me that this is going to be built on an already the second floor addition will already be built on a pre-existing non-conforming found home. And for those reasons, I feel that there's enough special conditions applicable to the property that we can grant these three variances. Literal enforcement will not result. This would result in some, I feel, unnecessary hardship for the appellant, and I don't feel that the granting of the variance is contrary to the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance. So for those reasons, tied to the plans, I'd move to approve.
Very good. Do we have a support?
I'll second.
Very good. We have a motion to approve in a second. Do we have any comments? I'll say that I do appreciate the mitigation from the last meeting. The reduction of the mudroom, I think, was reasonable and significant. The removal of the areas of the deck that have helped to mitigate also, I think, are well received, and for those reasons, I'll support the motion. We have a motion to approve. Can we please call the roll?
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Don Roberts,
Yes. Don.
Jason Canvaser,
Yes.
Richard Lilly,
Yes.
Eric Morganroth,
Yes?
Peter Yalda,
Yes.
Carl Cona.
Yes.
Congratulations, you have your variance.
Thank you.
Yes. Sure. Now you want to go tag team,
I'll go get
whatever
Kevin.
whatever they call it?
Yeah.
Jeff, you don't want to get up for this one, do you? You don't want to get up for this one, do you? Welcome back, Mr. Hart.
Thank you.
They got their variance, if you weren't listening in.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you.
Our next case is 25-08 for 1792 Banbury, and Mr. Zilke will present for the city.
Jeff Zilke here to present case 25-08, property known as 1795 Banbury. Request the following variance to construct a detached garage. Chapter 126, Article 4, Section 4.61A2 of the zoning ordinance requires corner lots where there's no abutting interior residential lots on such side street. The minimum side yard setback shall be 15 feet for a permitted accessory structure. The proposed garage is at 8.17 feet. Therefore, a variance of 6.83 feet is being requested. The applicant is looking to construct a new home with a detached garage on an irregular shaped lot. The variance is required due to the detached garage. There is a permit out for the new home, which is being constructed. They're just in front to request a variance for this detached garage. And if you have any questions for me, let me zoom in just to kind of give you a little better picture. Garages on a side street need to be 15 feet back, just for if you're parking a car, so it's not on the sidewalk. The garage doors are actually going to be facing the house, so there's no vehicle access from the side street to the garage. And you got any questions?
So, Mr. Zucchi, the lot's clearly tapering as it goes back, and then, of course, they have the issue with it being a corner lot and the side, as you mentioned, the 15 feet. How far does the garage have to be from the main structure?
Got to be 10 feet away from them.
So as you pull the house closer to the house, and the lot isn't as narrow, is there a intersection where they wouldn't need a variance that's a reasonable distance from the home? You know what I'm saying?
I think so if they pull the garage closer to the house, I think two things will happen. You get reduced a little bit, but then the vehicle access to be able to turn into the garage would be impeded quite a bit.
Unless you move the doors to the Taunton
Street.
side, right?
I think either way, there still probably be some kind of variance required.
Okay, very good. Mr. Canvasser, you had a question?
No, that was really my question, was whether or not there was a way to build a garage on this property without a variance, and it sounds like there's not.
Well, an attached garage is feasible, no?
You can attach it, but there's still going to be the 15 feet requirement. There'll still be some, even if they turn the garage doors, if you come all the way to the back and turn in from the rear. I think there'll still be some kind of a variance that would be required.
Right. Mr. Kona?
The existing garage, is that conforming?
No. This garage is being proposed being a little bit bigger to accommodate a two-car garage, but the existing garage still is existing non-conforming.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, Mr. Kona. Mr. Yaldo.
Mr. Zucchi, I know we've seen this in front of the board several times, but where would there need to be an abutting interior lot for this part of the ordinance not to apply? Would it be south on Taunton, if there was a lot facing that street, that ordinance wouldn't apply? Just the language sometimes is confusing.
It is a little confusing. So this one being on Taunton, you got two rear yards butting each other. So if this property here was turned, then you're getting into a street-facing side yard, so that 15 feet is going to be the average of the homes, which
I
would
see.
be considered a front, so it should be further back.
So if that lot to the south was facing the street,
Then you're
that
looking
would
at the
be,
front yards where you get the required front yard of the 200 feet in each direction.
so that would be an abutting interior residential lot.
Correct.
Or if
Gotcha.
there was, another way to look at it is if there was an interior residential lot between these two. Right now, they're back to back.
I see.
But if they were further apart and you had an interior lot between them.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Zucchi, it looks like the garage is 22 feet wide, but it narrows. I can't tell, is that a 16 door or an 18 door? Just wondering, because if the garage were only 20 feet wide, that would reduce the variance request by 2 feet, would it not?
If it was 20 feet wide, yeah, I mean, you'd be reducing that down.
It just seems like the extra 2 feet are somewhat arbitrary and that it doesn't allow for the door to be any wider. It doesn't really help maybe when the car door opens, but because there's a wall further down, it's more of just a place maybe for, cabinetry or something,
If you reduce it, because being on an angle, you also got, let me go back to the first one. It does follow that angle,
Right, if I
so
was
it does reduce it somewhat, but going in, so it's really just the front corner where the bigger part of the variance is being requested.
Right, but it would mitigate some of it. Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Zucchi? Mr. Hearn?
Mr. Zilke, for a typical garage, a two-car garage would be somewhere between 24 to 26 by 24 at least. So is this termed a two-car garage? Is that the mission on it? I guess we could let the appellant, I mean, this needs to be a two-car garage, I would assume, but, I mean, a 16-foot door doesn't really designate that it actually can fit two cars in there.
Right, depends on the vehicles nowadays, but, I mean, the appellant can speak of that, but.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Who's speaking on behalf of this appeal?
Good evening. I'm Mike Gordon, the architect for this project, and I'm here representing the homeowners Tara and Willie Green.
Could you give us your business address, please?
Oh, 4351 Delamere Court, Royal Oak, Michigan.
Very good.
As presented, we are requesting a variance for a two-car detached garage, and I'm going to address that one question. The back of the garage is less than, well, I can't remember what the exact dimension is, let me look. And that's the governing factor. Because of the angle, we are allowed to make the garage cheek out a little bit. But the real governing factor is the back dimension, which is...
22. No, 20.
No, it's only...
19.8?
It's only like 18 and change. So that, then offsetting it allows you to get the two cars in and the door can actually open. That's why the shape of the garage is such as it is. The existing home is currently scheduled to be replaced with a new structure of a modest size of 2,338. This lot is the poster child for an undersized lot. I mean, it goes back to only 30 feet and a half at the back of the property line. So it is a very challenging lot. And as demonstrated by this, we looked at attaching it. We looked at moving it with the side entrance. We even talked about moving the sidewalks for better safety feature. Everything needed a variance. So the reason we came up with this.
Could you please pass that around, please?
Thank you.
The safety concerns, because if this door faces the street, you're backing straight out. This way, as you're backing out at an angle, your backup camera's looking down the sidewalk and you can visually look down the sidewalk. Plus, if we attach it to the house, you're blocking all of the yard for any kind of use for outdoor covered entertainment space. And then if we go, as we get closer, you have to be 10 feet off or you have to follow the house rules. And this 15-foot setback governs all of that. So no matter what we came in for, there was going to be some sort of variance. And then we worked with the city, we talked about all the options, and we sort of settled on coming up with this. We think granting this variance will provide substantial justice to the homeowner, allowing them to use the property in the manner that so many adjoining properties enjoy. We also feel that the varied roof line, varied footprint, and the use of materials creates a small little cottage and not just a box in the backyard, given the location. As we arrived, we were also just handed a letter from the neighbor to the south, most immediately impacted by this garage, in full support, and I believe it's in your package. Again, due to the odd shape of the lot, the corner location, the small lot size, none of which were created by the owner, we feel that this is a just solution for the homeowner and the community at large. I think you'll look at this when this project is done as a very attractive addition to the community. And we're ready to answer any questions.
Very good. So back to your scenario with the attached garage, notwithstanding any impedance to the windows and the functioning of the backyard, you had a scenario where that worked without a variance. Is that correct?
No, because of the 15-foot.
15 feet, you still needed it. And do you know
Right.
what
It was
kind of
like
variance?
3 or 4 maybe feet. It was a little bit less.
A little bit less.
But again, in the balancing act of what's best for the house, the property, and blocking all the south windows of the house, just, we came up with a solution after we met with the city and worked around all of that.
Very good. Other questions for, please?
Mr. Petitioner, could you explain what that other solution would have looked like? You said there was a,
It was on that board.
There's a
Yeah.
little plan of it, but it was,
Okay.
I mean, it was basically just, the whole garage block, because of the property narrowing down, it was basically 20 feet or 22 feet at the back of the house, and then the south side of the house, the only way to get to the backyard was go down the 5-foot setback down the side of the yard, or come out and go basically down the sidewalk to get to your own backyard.
So it would have been yeah, go ahead.
And then the doors had go to the back because of, again, the 15-foot issue, and then there's no yard at all.
So it'd be less functional, probably do less justice to the neighbors, I would think, overall.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sir, did you have a question?
Mr. Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Reddy, go ahead.
So one of the things that we'd obviously like to do is, you have unique circumstances here with regards to this sort of wedge-shaped lot. However, is any thought given to actually reducing the front dimension of the garage from 22 feet to, say, 20 or 19 feet?
It doesn't change the setback.
Oh, okay.
It's
Okay.
it's the back corner that governs it. As this wall is curving, we could stair step the house back, and still, it was the same requirement because of the 18 feet or 17 feet at the back.
So the step that you have in there, that addresses that particular concern in order to give you a little more room, right?
Right. There's the governing corner, and as we swoop around, there's a little jog in the
Now it
garage.
makes sense. Thank you.
No, you covered it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for the appellant? Seeing none? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
In the audience or on Zoom, anyone not specifically affiliated with this appeal have any comments about this appeal? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Board members? Mr. Coney, you want to go out? Oh, Mr. Coney, go ahead. I was going to say, Mr. Yaldi, you want to go out with a bang? Go ahead, Mr. Coney.
I'll make a motion to approve 1792 Banbury. It is clear to me that there are unique circumstances with this lot. It's very challenging as it narrows. I must applaud the applicant for the variations of ideas to come to the meeting with and try different things, and this, to me, does seem to be, of all the choices, the best solution to provide any kind of garage. Even though the existing garage is already non-conforming, this provides a solution for the new house, and I think that because of the challenging lot, that this is going to I'm sorry, I lost my thought. It would unreasonably abiding by this would unreasonably prevent the property owner from using this property correctly. The literal enforcement of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship because the garage of any size apparently would be not feasible based on the setback for this narrow rear lot. And to me, granting this variance would not be contrary to the spirit of the ordinance. And I believe this will be providing substantial justice to the area, as it is going to provide a home with a garage that, to me, provides a feasible solution for this particular property.
Very good. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second.
Oh, and tied to the
Tied to the
plans.
plans.
Did you get that, Laura?
I did.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Do we have any comments? Seeing none, I will support the motion. I agree with everything that Mr. Kona said. It is a challenging lot. It does narrow significantly at the back. If this lot didn't narrow, a variance likely wouldn't be required, in addition to the fact that we have two roads. This house is on a corner, and I do applaud the applicant, the appellant, for bringing in these different scenarios, because my first question was going to be, have you explored an attached garage and what would that look like? And that was prepared already, so we appreciate that. We have a motion to approve. Can we please call the roll?
Carl Kona,
Yes.
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Gary Aldo,
Yes.
Jason Canvaser,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
Richard Lillen,
Yes.
Eric Morgenroth.
Yes. Congratulations, you have your variance. Our next case is 25-09 for 719 Larchley. Mr. Zilke is up.
Jeff Zilke here to present case 25-09, property known as 719 Larchley. Request the following variance to construct an addition to the existing home. Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.06.2, the zoning ordinance requires that the minimum total combined side yard setbacks are to be 14 feet or 25% of lot width, whichever is larger. The required is 22.5 feet. The proposed is 11.73 feet. Therefore, a variance of 10.77 feet is being requested. Variance B, Chapter 126, Article 4, Section 4.74C of the zoning ordinance requires the minimum distance between principal residential buildings on adjacent lots to be 14 feet or 25% of lot width, whichever is larger. The required is 22.5 feet. The existing is 17.20 feet, and the proposed is 15.23 feet. Therefore, a variance of 7.27 feet is being requested on the south side. Variance C, Chapter 126, Article 4, Section 4.75A1 of the zoning ordinance requires that private attached garages must be set back a minimum of 5 feet from the portion of the front facade on the first floor of the principal residential building that is furthest set back from the front property line. The proposed is 2 feet behind the garage, therefore a variance of 7 feet is being requested. The applicant is looking to construct an addition to the existing attached garage to the existing non-conforming home that was constructed in 1946. Let me zoom in on. So the proposed addition is to bump the garage out on the front and also on the side, which causes the variances for the distance between structures. The combined total side yard setbacks for A, the distance between, and then by pulling this forward of the house, this is the farthest portion of the front facade, which the garage is 2 feet in front of it, therefore the variance of 7 feet for the garage being attached to the house is being requested in variance C. Any questions?
So, Mr. Zilke, every request on this, in this application, is existing non-conforming, and every change is an exacerbation of this non-conformity. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Very good. Mr. Cameron, you had a question?
I think that covered it.
Oh, very good. Anyone else have a question? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation. Who's coming up to speak on behalf of this appeal?
Good evening. My name is Donald Leaker, architect for Sue Fuller, the owner of the property.
And your business address, sir?
7026 Post Office Box, West Bloomfield, Bloomfield Hills, excuse me.
Very good.
I'd like to thank you. I've done this a few times over the last couple of years. It's always been on Zoom, and I appreciate the opportunity to do that as I'm out of state. So I'm here for this one because it matters to my client. The client, as has been said by Mr. Zilke, this is a non-conforming home built in the 40s. My client purchased it in 2015 as a single homeowner with 2 young children. Over the last 10 years, she's made some renovations to it that has increased its value, and we like to believe increased the value of the neighborhood as well. 10 years later, it's funny we're talking about garages, this will be another one. 10 years later, a need has come along with children that are getting older and have vehicles and cars. The existing home is it's a one-car garage. Hard to believe, but it is. And the need and the hardship is for her to be afforded to have a 2-car garage. We've looked at all sorts of ways to achieve this, and we think that adding 2 feet on is what we can consider to be the most minimalistic. We can add to it. We're trying not to exceed the minimum side setback requirement. 2 feet would give her the minimal 2-car garage for her needs. Sorry about that. We believe that the variance, sorry about that, the variance if granted, we believe wouldn't be to the detriment of the nearby neighbors. We have 4 letters on file, all accepting of the applicant's desire to put 2 feet onto that. I mean, the elephant in the room is that we understand that the house is non-conforming, and anything we add on to that is adding to that. We're trying to do it as respectfully as we can. The homeowner loves her neighborhood, loves the community, and is along with this 2-foot extension of the garage to make this a 2-car garage, is going to also enhance the front of her house, hopefully adding to the value of not only the home, but the rest of the neighborhood. As I said, we have a letter from the south neighbor, the north, 2 from across the street. Questions?
So it looks like your inside dimensions or outside dimensions, I just lost it, give me a second, was 17.2 on your current garage, is that?
Yeah, 17.2.
So you're trying to get it to 19.2?
It's currently at 17.20 to the south neighbor, 17.20.
I don't mean the distance between, I mean the width of the garage, you're going from 17.2 to 19.2.
Oh, we're going 17.2 to 19.2.
Right, and you're trying to fit a 16-foot door in, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, 16-foot door. Those 2 vehicles, we believe it will fit 2 vehicles. And one of the reasons we're only going 2 feet because it's going to give us just a tick over 5 feet to the side yard line. And we didn't want to come in for yet another variance and being less than 5. So we're just,
Unless, if one car pulls in and the other one backs in, maybe they could open their doors, but in your proposal, there's no way for the car on the right to open their door on the driver's side. I guess what I'm trying to understand, I get what the goal is, and I get that 2 feet sounds like the minimum to ask.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't seem to accomplish what you want to accomplish with your sketch in terms of these 2 hypothetical cars. And the challenge for us, of course, is that, your request, and again, it isn't about the 2 feet. It's about everybody in the city would love to take a home that's non-conforming and improve it.
Right.
And we're all in support of it, but to add to the non-conformity is not something typically this board will approve. So we'll continue to ask questions, but that's going to be the biggest barrier is these non-conformities that are what they are. They're beautiful homes in the city, but as we expand them and change them. Now, some people, as you saw in the last case, they have a non-conformity. They're building over the 2nd floor, staying within the same footprint. And so they're adding to they're staying within the same nonconformity but improving their home. In this particular case, you're adding nonconformities in all 3 requests. So that's the general challenge, at least that I would have. Other questions for the appellant?
Mr. Chair.
Please, Mr. Reddy.
So I understand the sidewall addition of 2 feet. I see where you're trying to convert a 1-car into a 2-car. I don't understand the front 2 feet. So in other words, you could actually minimize what you're asking for and still accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Is that?
We can do that. Honestly speaking, what we're trying to do, the 2 feet that extend out to the front is really for aesthetic purposes. The house has been added onto and modified a significant amount of times. If that pleases the board and that makes it a more acceptable variance, we can take that 2 feet off.
Obviously, that's not up to me, but that would make it easier for me to understand what you're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, me and the client have talked about it. I mean, architecturally speaking, as an architect, I'm going to want to improve the look of the house the best I can. So does she. She plans on doing a renovation of the entire front of the house to bring it up to date. A lot of construction on the street, so I recommended that. But we've also discussed means of not doing that and still architecturally coming with a solution that's still very appealing, and for the house without adding that 2 feet in. There'd still be a section, obviously, of 2 feet if we took that off. a 2-foot section facing the front of the house that's still front-facing. But most of it would not be if we thinned it back and just came out 2 feet to the side.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, any change to this garage facade would need a variance because it's supposed to be 5 feet behind that particular. So this is a -7 versus you're 5 feet
It would be
further
a-
forward no matter what.
Yeah, it'd still be a -5 for that 2-foot section.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there a scenario, and I'm just asking without really examining, is there a separate garage or some kind of independent structure that works on this lot?
You're really close to the 30% on this one, so that's something that we've had to work around. There's a new addition, a master and closet behind the garage.
That's proposed or already existing?
It's already existing.
Okay.
Not really enough room on, to the side yard to get, if we did a detached in the rear or something like that.
Not enough room for the driveway, you
There's
mean?
not enough room for the driveway. Trying to go inside the residence obviously there'd be a lot of deconstructing of the foundation, this and that. Probably wouldn't be economically feasible to do it that way.
Right. All right, just curious.
Yeah.
Other questions, Mr. Hart?
On your drawing, A4,
Yeah.
you have an exterior dimension on the garage on the outside, on the right side of the garage at 25.92 feet.
Yeah.
And then on the interior, inside to inside, you have 26 feet, 1.5. Is there something, I guess I'm just curious as to,
That probably should be a 24.
is it, yeah, I was thinking that.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. And with the thickness of the wall, what would
Yeah.
that true dimension be then, inside to inside?
Well, if we, as the other board members said, if we took the 2 feet off the front, we'd still be 23 feet.
Yeah, but still, and still not.
Yeah, the depth is not a problem on this garage. Here's what is happening, and with in and out, she's got a son, 21, that's in the military quite a bit. She's trying to prevent, with the 2 younger sons owning cars, of having the unsightliness of having a car out in the street. Just really thinking about besides obviously the convenience of having a 2-car garage and being afforded what other people have, she's really
But I mean,
cognizant
in your
of the fact-
experience, just getting to
Yeah.
that dimension though, 24 feet is not, for a 2-car garage, that's,
No, it's 24, the depth.
yeah, but
Yeah.
even the depth and the width, if you were to buy a kit for a 2-car garage that would be detached, it would likely be, what a 2-car garage would be, the minimum dimension, I think in any dimension would be 24 or,
Wow, I've designed a lot of real small homes in certain communities. We've gotten away with 19 too. It's not exactly
it's not exactly
a lot
a
of
2-car
door
garage.
banging and this and that type of thing. She has the advantage. One of her sons goes off and is deployed every once in a while and has military service. So a matter of keeping a car in there versus off the street, but it wouldn't be used as much.
That answers my question. Thank you.
Thank
Do you have any height in there for a lift?
Height in there for a lift?
Yeah,
No, there's not a lot of.
not a lot of height?
No, well, these houses, I think it's literally 4 inches and into the house, and then I think
8-foot ceiling
the
inside,
ceiling
right?
height is 8.2, something like that. So, yeah, that's a challenge.
Here?
Is the Four Seasons room not a part of this appeal?
No.
Okay, just making sure. Thank you.
Any other questions for the appellant? Seeing none, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? No.
No, we're good. In the audience or online, anyone not specifically affiliated with this appeal have any comments about this appeal? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Board members. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion regarding the address 719 Larchlia, case number 2509. I'd like to make a motion to approve A, B, and C. I think the appellant has done a very good job of describing the challenges of this old house. And I think the magnitude and the scale of the improvement is minimum. I don't think that a two-car garage would be unexpected. I think that would be an expected feature on a home in this neighborhood. I think the size of the garage shows a 19-foot, 2-inch interior side to side and front to back at just a little bit over 24 feet. To me, that seems like a very reasonable request. They're reusing the existing door is remaining, the 16-foot door that is barely acceptable for a two-car garage as well. I think that the unique circumstances about the house itself and the usage and the age of the home is a practical difficulty because of its virtually anything that is done to the home will require a variance from this board. So with that, I'd like to tie the approval motion to the drawings as submitted, and that would be for A, B, and C.
We have a motion to approve A, B, and C. Do we have a second? I'll ask one more time. We have an approval for A, B, and C to approve. Do we have a second? If we do not, the motion fails. We do not have a second, so the motion fails. We need another motion. Please.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to deny the motion as requested. I sympathize with the need for the two-car garage. I think it can be accomplished with a slightly less obtrusive front. I think because the petitioner indicated some willingness to reduce the front portion of that garage, I personally, although I won't be on the board at such time, would be able to support a slightly modified version of the variance request. However, as the chairman mentioned, it's already existing non-conforming, and although we often do grant variances when there are special conditions applicable to the lot, it's an expansion of a non-conformity that's pulling the property a lot closer to the neighboring property, and I have some concerns about the precedent that it would set because there needs to be special circumstances that are demonstrated making the property differently situated than other properties in the same zone. So I have some concerns about what other property owners might be able to claim as grounds for a variance. But with that said, I could support the motion if the variance requests were slightly modified. But at this time, I would move to deny the variance.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? We have a second from Mr. Kona. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Reddy?
I'm sympathetic to what Mr. Hart and my colleague said. My concern is as sort of articulated by Mr. Yaldo, is the 2-foot front setback requirement. I'd be more comfortable with the side setback simply because then it achieves the function of allowing the appellate to have a two-car garage. I don't understand the need for the front, the additional front setback variance, and for those reasons, I'll support the motion.
Mr. Canvasser?
Yeah, I will support the motion as presented. I'll say a couple things, though. The motion was to deny A, B, and C. I just for the board and for edification, a motion could have been made to approve A or C or B or C or anything like that. That wasn't the motion. So the motion is for A, B, and C. We heard that the front 2 feet is not necessary, so I think that takes that piece out of it right away. In all cases, we start off every hearing saying this. This is not a popularity contest, so the fact that neighbors are in favor of it, I don't think is really what plays into our decision here. And part of that is because the neighbor today may approve of it, but the neighbor tomorrow who wants to do something to their house and then has to get a variance because of this variance may not approve of it. This, to me, is a self-created hardship. It's an old house, it's a single-car garage, and I'm sympathetic to that like everybody else here, but that's the nature of the house. And so I think this is self-created, and I don't hear a hardship unique to the property that would warrant a variance here. So I'll support the motion for those reasons.
Any other?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just wondering, would we be able to modify, would the board accept a
The current motion
modification?
the current motion has to go through, and that's A, B, and C.
But does that mean that that there's no further discussion with our board or with this evening?
We can discuss how we feel about it, and the board could choose to not vote this motion through.
Yeah, but I mean, if we, Mr. Yaldo made a motion to deny and A, B, and C. So in so doing, when we vote on that and we deny A, B, and C, then we have no recourse to.
That's fine.
So that's the end, right?
But if the board decided based on comments about, I could see the motion or the removal of one of them being the front would motivate me, as Mr. Reddy said, if the whole board felt like they wanted to deny this motion, hoping to hear that motion, that could occur, but you'd have to have the board deny this particular appeal, so.
I know, but I'm concerned, I guess it's a procedural thing. In so doing, does the
Does it
appellant
negate our
now,
ability to come
does the
back?
appellant now leave the building without being able to maybe apply for A and B?
No,
or
I think
A
she
and
could
C?
probably apply for something, I mean, I guess we'd have to,
You'd have to have a substantial change.
right.
And that, okay.
Once the motion is voted and denied, it's final. It
Right.
requires a substantial change.
I mean, it
to
would come
back
in front of me,
us.
they would call me, and I would say, what's the likelihood that if that were removed, it would have gone through? And is that substantial enough? But like Jason said, it has to be a substantial different. And we're in the middle of a motion, so we can't go backwards regardless.
Okay, understand.
Yeah, again, as the chair said, if the motion dies, then a new motion can be made.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I'll just say, Mr. Chairman, despite making the motion, I would support a modified motion that only related to two of those requests if my motion were not passed. And I don't know if it's appropriate, Mr. Chairman, but if somebody wanted to bring a different motion, I would be willing to withdraw
If the
mine.
board supports the concept that they would like to see this without the 2 feet in the front, then this motion has to fail.
Understood.
So
Thank
we'll
you.
vote and find out if it fails.
All right, thanks.
Any other comments about this particular, Mr. Koenig?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have as much of a problem with the front as I do the side, in that now we're encroaching closer to the neighbor, as Mr. Camberser said. If that neighbor now needs to do something, they need a variance possibly because they're too close. Bigger thing is now that you're basically 5 feet from the property line, and the houses are fairly close on this street. Now, the next owner can come in and apply for a second story on top of this pre-existing non-conforming house. Now they have this ginormous house on that particular, much larger encroachment into the side setback space. So that's my concern, is that we're making the nonconformity worse on the side, and now down the road, that can be used as something to build up higher and dwarf the neighbor again, which I think is the whole point of these side setbacks, is to give space between neighbors.
So I will support the motion to deny A, B, and C. This is really not about how we feel. I mean, a two-car garage, everyone, if possible, should have a functional two-car garage. The fact is, this is a non-conforming house, and all three requests are exacerbating nonconformities. Those come in front of us all the time, and the majority of the time, they do not pass. If someone came in front of us with a home, with a garage that sat 3 feet behind the front porch, 2 feet behind the front porch, or protruded beyond the front porch, or we're finding this offset that we're currently basing it on, we would deny that home. If a home was non-conforming between, distance between, or into the side yard setback, we would deny that home, regardless of if this is an existing home or if it's a home that obviously you've beautifully improved to the extent to which it can be approved. if we set a precedent that nonconformities can be exacerbated, then it removes the fact that it's a nonconformity. We're here not to change the ordinances. We're here to enforce the ordinances. And there's nothing unique about the lot. There's something unique about the homeowner's particular needs for this property, but we can't make a decision based on personal needs because at some point someone else will own this house, and in 40 years someone may own this house. And the more it's improved, the less likely someone's going to tear it down, but they're going to enjoy the house, and it's a beautiful house. But we have to think about this in a vacuum and not specific to particular needs, because that is not part of what we're allowed to look at. There's nothing unique about the property. There's uniqueness about the needs of the homeowner, and the requests are minor relative to square footage or footage. But what isn't unique is that it's a non-conforming house, and we're adding to that non-conformity. It's not something that is staying within the non-conformity, but expanding the use of the house. So for that reason, I would not support, I support this motion. I would not support a different motion. We have a motion to deny. Can we please call the roll?
Gary Aldo,
Yes.
Carl Kona,
Yes.
Jason Canvaser,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
Richard Lilly,
Yes.
Eric Morgenroth,
Yes.
Ron
Sorry.
Ready.
Yes.
Sorry. Our next case is case 25-10 for 1,000 Shirley.
Case 25-10, property known as 1000 Shirley, request the following variance to construct an addition to the existing attached garage. Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.06.2 of the zoning ordinance requires that the minimum rear yard setback is 30 feet. The existing rear yard setback is 26.5 feet. The proposed is 24.74 feet for the garage addition. Therefore, a variance of 5.25 feet is being requested. The applicant is looking to construct an addition to the existing attached garage that was constructed in 1929. Let me zoom in on this. They're looking to expand the garage out. By expanding the garage out, this little area in yellow is what's causing the variance request for the rear yard of the 5.25 feet. And got any questions?
So how much of that yellow is existing and how much of that yellow is?
Zoom in a little bit more.
Is
So the
addition.
existing stops right here. They're just looking to expand that garage out a few feet to make it a little bit larger. Kind of the garage in the front is small. And that's just causing, this is existing at the 3.25 feet. So the
Excuse me.
existing non-conforming at 3.5 feet, so they're looking for a 1.75 foot additional variance to be able to construct this, but then this back column area is in that 5.25 feet.
And if they wanted to lengthen the garage, would they need a variance for that?
Lengthen the garage forward.
Yeah, towards the front setback line. In terms of like the width, I'm saying lengthen because I feel like that's depth, that's length, but they have space to go right towards where your hand is now, right?
So by going out,
Yep.
it's going into that rear yard setback, because here's that 30-foot.
Right, but if they had an offset of some sort, they could go,
If they pulled it forward, they
Right.
can go, I guess that little clip corner, I guess I could let the appellant speak of what that looks like, but,
in other words, they have space in the building envelope, they just, where they're adding it, they don't, I guess is my point.
correct.
And then they're also, are they going to be building a detached garage on this property too?
Yes, there's an detached garage going in there. It does meet all the square footage in the 30%, which is a non-issue.
And is that in for permit, or where does that stand?
This is not in for permit yet. That's why it's in front of you guys tonight. seeing if this variance is all going to come in at that point.
What about a maximum accessory structure? Is there a code in the city for how much accessory structure you can have? And are we meeting any of that with this larger garage and the proposed garage?
The existing garage being attached still falls in the 30% accessory structure. In an R1, you can go up to 600 square feet, and it meets all those requirements, and it meets that 30% lot.
So we don't treat an attached garage then as accessory?
No.
Very good. Mr. Cole? You've already left in my mind, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, my bad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Zlicki, it looks like the survey appears to confirm that the house is built rather close to that setback because there appears to be a rather large grade in the front of the house. So I'm looking at that as a possible unique factor, but I'm just trying to understand what obstructions that might have placed in that might have affected the location in which this house was built in the first place. Is that what it is, floodplain? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is in the floodplain.
Oh, it is in the floodplain, okay. Well, that answers my question.
Sorry, steal your thunder.
Mr. Kona?
The real one.
The real Mr. Kona, please stand up.
So this, and I'm not sure the conditions, but this is similar to the house we saw a few months ago where it was a pie-shaped lot and the house was facing the street. It was perpendicular to the street, but the backyard was pie-shaped. Does any of that apply to this where the side setback would apply versus a rear yard setback? Or because this house is askew?
I would say that this is a rectangular shaped lot, so it's not an irregular shaped lot. There's some unique features on it, well, the topography, but no, we wouldn't draw that imaginary 10-foot line and then establish the rear setback that way on this.
For the side setback? Right,
Yes, this is not an irregular shaped lot, it's a rectangular shaped lot.
Sure.
So what you're remembering would not apply here.
okay.
Oh,
Thank
just
you.
because the house is angled?
The house is askew,
Yeah, right.
No, I think the angled house, I would imagine, had to deal with the floodplain from originally.
Sure.
Mr. Canvaser?
So it's an existing two-car garage now, right?
Correct.
And they're looking to expand the width of the garage.
The floor plan.
So it looks like the door now goes over farther.
Yeah, the door is actually opening to the rear, so the existing garage stopped here, they're expanding it out.
That's the existing, right?
This is the existing garage line right here, yeah,
Okay.
and they're expanding out, 3 foot, right?
So if they kept the existing doors and stepped it back so that, I don't know what it would look like architecturally, but, you put a line right where your hand is straight, would they still need a variance if they just cut off that corner and kind of did a stepped approach?
The existing non-conforming going in the rear yard, if they stepped it back and didn't
Like just kept that and
make
then,
it larger?
yeah, the addition
Is it a
would start.
possibility? Let me see.
I mean, it may look funny, I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, probably to some degree, I mean,
Well, you see that architecturally, one garage further out than the other, but they're probably going to say the depth would have, they might lose 6 feet in depth and it wouldn't function well.
Yeah, I mean, we can ask them about the functionality,
Right.
I'm just wondering if it would still require a variance, because they're adding to a nonconformity, but they're not in the nonconformity at that point. Or, I mean, the setback, excuse me.
Are you saying like bring the whole?
He's just saying
portion of the garage
he's just
back?
saying offset one bag.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, just-
Gotcha,
just
gotcha.
Start the
Right.
addition.
I understand, yeah.
Mr. Zilke, just to be clear, this double line with the half columns is the previous garage. So they're expanding it on 2 sides, just they only need a variance because of that corner.
right, because it's clipping into the rear yard setback.
Right. And is that dotted line on the back side of the garage also a limitation line? Or is that
Here?
identifying an overhang? No,
It's
the back side of the garage.
This is the.
Oh, the front side of the, that side, the other side.
Right here's the overhang. There's no impediment in the front.
So they could add the depth that they're taking out in Mr. Canvasser's scenario towards the back. Or, obviously the appellant can talk about any grade issues, or it might block the windows of the room. But, all right. Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zilke, maybe if you and Mr. Johnson could answer the question, like the 83-foot setback from Lincoln was established by the zoning of the property, or I'm just curious on the Lincoln side, which it almost reads that Lincoln is the front yard, but it's not. With the Shirley address, the side yard setback is at 30 feet, or 39.3 feet.
An address doesn't really necessarily dictate where the front line was established for zoning purposes.
Okay. So it has a unique title restriction on it, or is it?
I don't think it's a title restriction. I think the front setback was off of Lincoln, but they had to move it back as far as they did because of the floodplain and the topography on the lot.
You know, in the late 90s, this property was carved up pretty good when they put the new storm system in. I know there's a tank cauldron across the street in the park, and I think a lot of the work went on. And was that setback established as a result of the work that was done for the taking the combined sewer system apart, or was that?
I think that the house is older than that project was, so I don't think that had a part in it.
Okay.
I think to kind of piggyback that with the width of the lot and the depth, usually the narrower the width is really deciding the sides. And that's because it's got a Shirley address, because the sides, because if you go to the depth, then off of Shirley, your 30-foot rear yard setback will be off of this side, and it would actually impede the house a little bit more. Just zoning wise, it's usually
I think this house was built in 1926,
it's really
or
the front and the rear.
I think this was in the early 20s.
And I'm assuming with the floodplain is kind of the driving factor pushing the house back so far.
Okay, thank you. I'm sure the appellant knows some of these. Thank you.
Is there another question?
It was sort of the same question you half answered. Is this side, what actually determines where the front of the property is for ordinance purposes? Is it, you're saying it's the longer dimension of the property would always be the sides? I'm a little confused.
So if the lot is the length of the lot going backwards, then you say, okay, you got a 30-foot rear yard setback, then you got the average of the fronts are the 200 feet in each way, so you're at least a minimum of 55 feet. And usually the narrower width kind of determines the sides per the zoning, because it's like you got to go 25%. Hopefully I'm explaining this correctly, which would be the driving factor of, this lot I think was, I'm not sure how wide this lot was, top of my head. Say it's 25 feet total side yard setback. If you're going down the depth of it, the length of it being 200 feet, now you're looking at 50-foot side yard setback combined. So they've usually been looking at, from my understanding, zoning-wise, it's usually determined the front if it's longer in length, so you got the rear and the front being the depth of it, and then the sides are smaller because of the zoning-wise, and basically creating that sheet of paper.
Until it was brought up, I would have gone by the street address. I would have thought a Shirley address means the front is Shirley and the
Right, I think way back when, they did change some addresses on Side Street, and it seems like lately it's like, hey, we're facing the front, but you can have your front door off of Shirley, even though Lincoln is your front, considered the front.
In this case, you can look at how the lot was placed, the existing house was placed on the lot.
Sure.
Okay, and if Shirley would never have been determined the front, because their rear setback would have been non-conforming.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, who's speaking on behalf of this appeal?
Good evening. I'm Keith Logsden, architect with Michael Willoughby and Associates. representing the owners. Sorry, my voice is a little scratchy tonight.
It's okay. Could you give us your business address too, please?
880 South Old Woodward in Birmingham.
Thank you.
So we're here representing the owners of the home at 1000 Shirley, who wish to expand their undersized two-car attached garage to accommodate two normal-sized vehicles while preserving the historic character of their home. As you've discussed, the front half of the existing corner lot, which is just over an acre in size, is in a designated flood zone. That caused the original 1920s home to be pushed toward the north end of the property and was built at an angle to follow the natural topography of the site. The home was built long before the current zoning ordinance was in effect. Because this is a corner lot, the rear yard is also at the north end of the property. The existing attached garage, which faces the rear yard, now projects 3.5 feet into the 30-foot required rear yard setback, making it a legal nonconforming, thus creating the hardship. Because of the angle of the building, any expansion to make the garage wider would increase this nonconformity. Also, the existing garage is only 18.5 feet deep and less than 20 feet wide, with two 8-foot wide overhead doors. So making that 120-degree turn and trying to get in an 8-foot door is nearly impossible. What we're proposing is to follow the line of the existing garage with a 3.25-foot addition to accommodate a single 18-foot wide overhead door to solve that problem. The addition will increase the existing nonconformity by only 1.75 feet beyond what it is today. The additional 6 feet of depth being proposed will comply with the ordinance on the front. The addition will match the character of the existing home with a flat roof and decorative railing and will appear seamless with the original home. We did explore turning the garage to the east, and we're impeded from doing that by a very large mature tree that needs to be preserved. We looked at turning the garage to the south, would not preserve the existing architectural character of the home. We did look at stepping that, but that exacerbates the 120-degree turn because of the way the house is situated on the property due to the topography of the site. So it's sort of a domino effect. Granting the requested variance will provide the owners with a secure place to park their cars and will preserve the home's historic presence in this neighborhood, thereby being of value to the neighborhood. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So can you answer that first, or that comment you made? So wouldn't stepping it in give you more surface or area to be able to make that turn if you stepped in the corner for that one bay? Because you're approaching it from behind, and so if it were pulled forward 4 feet, it would give you more turning radius to make that turn, no?
It would, but then it would impact the character of the home, which we're trying to preserve.
Right, but you said the offset was due to the inability to make the turn into the garage, not because of the character. That was...
It's all part and parcel of the character, I think. If you look at the elevations that we submitted with the package, we're not changing the character of the front of the house on purpose.
Right, but you understand that a hardship for us as a board is not maintaining the character of a home, but it is, what is the hardship? And I don't know that I would see character. So you tell me architecturally, with the railing, is it because you'd have a 90-degree turn in the railing? That's what would ruin the character? Describe me what the character would, how it would be impacted by an offset.
Well, the character with the columns that you see on the front, we're trying to maintain that scale.
So all in line versus one offset. I see. Very good. Other questions? Mr. Canvasser?
Yeah, I'm just kind of confused about that character comment. I mean, can you go back to the previous drawing? Yeah, and then scroll out so we can see the whole house. I mean, you got, on the right side, you have those 3 columns, 4 columns, whatever.
Right.
Is there a reason you couldn't, I mean, I think you have the space, is there a reason you couldn't just do a forward-facing 3-car garage and have 3 separate doors there and have the same character?
Not with the garage facing the street.
I'm not following.
Are you suggesting that the garage doors would be on the front elevation or the rear elevation?
Yeah, is there a reason why you couldn't make those the garage doors? You have 3 separate doors, and architecturally, you know, could find materials that would keep with, you know, the character
Well, a couple of things. One, it would impact the view out of the adjacent space, the living area. Two, getting from the driveway up to that level is a potential issue.
Is an elevation issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see that one of that separation of columns is part of the mudroom. So they're probably at a different level, different grade. Other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Please, Mr. Reddy.
So, Mr. Logsdon, I'm looking at the site plan here, and I guess what I don't understand is why your proposal can't be moved more towards the southeast. In other words, it appears to me that you could move it back. Granted, you'd lose a little bit of additional depth, but I think you would still be able to get most of your width by coming in 3 or 4 feet to avoid the rear setback line, still have a bigger garage, perhaps not as big as you're asking for, without even requiring a variance. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Stepping the north side of the garage.
So
Stepping
if
the
you,
whole garage.
Jeff, could you put your hand right there? If you were to actually just shorten the length of the garage, you would still be able to accomplish most of your width, and as long as you cut the length off, that would allow you to get in within the setback line. I mean, have you discussed that? I mean, granted, it'd be a little less, you'd have less length, but you'd still keep the width that you're looking for, and you wouldn't, I'm not sure you would even be required to have a variance.
Yeah, we did look at stepping it, but it just made the garage, the two-car garage, kind of non-functional.
So Jeff, slide your hand right along to the right there. That's where I would propose that if you were to come straight to the house now along a straight line, I don't understand why that couldn't be accomplished. Where you would still have a wide enough garage, I think it would be long enough to get the cars in. It may not have the square footage you are requesting, but it wouldn't require a variance either.
Yeah, I guess
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
Part of the difficulty of getting into that garage is because it's an 8-foot door and the 120-degree turn to get into it.
Okay.
So that was kind of why we decided that wasn't a viable option.
Okay. Thank you.
And I guess following with that logic, so if the garage were less deep, without pulling it further forward, the ability to get into the garage would actually be easier because it would give you a greater distance from the driveway to the front of the garage. I'm assuming if I said to you, why don't you add the depth towards the front of the house, the depth you'd be losing if you squared it off, not going into the setback, you'd probably suggest that it's going to block the windows that are in the sitting room, right?
We've gone further to the south, but that's about as far as we can go.
Because of the windows.
Without impacting those windows.
Right. Understand. And the need to make this more functional when your client has a proposed additional garage being added to the site. Can you give us a little bit of insight into what he's trying to accomplish in terms of, or he or she trying to accomplish in terms of garage space?
Well, I think trying to have the two attached car and the detached functioning more as a storage facility for the vehicles.
Right.
The two-car garage would be like everyday use attached to the house.
Right, and maybe accessory vehicles or other things could go in the garage.
Exactly.
That's fair. Any other questions for the appellant? Thank you for your time, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, Mr. Hart, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Logsdon, can you give us a little bit of background about, this is probably one of the most iconic houses in the city of Birmingham. I mean, the care and concern for a building of this quality and its historic nature. I know it's not designated as historic, but it's over the years it's had quite a bit of renovation, restoration, additions that didn't have a lot of rhyme or reason, and the stewardship that this owner's taken over is pretty pronounced. Can you describe for us some of the the geometry and the rhythm of the columns and the historic nature, the gambrel gable of the roof, how difficult it is to change the roof pitches on a Dutch gable roof like that's on this house. Could you kind of run us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think our goal again to maintain the character, and we're not really altering the character with what we're proposing, other than say to add some dormers at the top to get more light in the upper story. The building that you see further to the west, again, that's an existing shed, so that was there. We're trying to maintain sort of the proportion of the spacing with the columns so that it looks like it's always been there rather than looking like an addition. If you look at the form, it's just very simple, and we're trying to maintain that. You know, for years, I've driven by this house and go, oh, I'd love to do that. You know, do some work on that house, and lo and behold, here we are. So obviously, we're very excited about that, but also trying to maintain the character of the house is really important. Not only to us and the owners, but to the neighbors, the neighborhood itself. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, I did. Thank you. I know it's a little bit of a challenge. I'm sure. All right. Thank you.
So with reference to kind of the theme and not wanting to compromise, if I'm looking at this overhead view, I can see on the garage you have 3 columns or 3 half columns. On the front you have 3 and a half. Then on the side you have a half and a single. Then you have this corner. Jeff, can you highlight the corner where there's a small corner on the front all the way up right to your left? See how there's a corner right there? So you have a small corner there that would be equivalent to a offset on the garage where you have a column on each corner with a quarter column or a half column in the center of it. Then you go to the front, there are 2 columns. You move over to the side, there are 4. So there is no consistent cadence of number of columns. There are offsets. There are railings that make 90-degree turns. It isn't clear to me, so as an architect, can you explain to me why an offset on the back of the home that would be equivalent to some that are on the front would be architecturally inappropriate?
I guess I couldn't say it'd be architecturally inappropriate.
Thank you. Any other questions for the appellant? Thank you for your time, sir.
Okay.
In the audience or on Zoom, anyone who has any particular comments about this appeal that's not affiliated with this appeal? Seeing none on Zoom, we'll close public comment. Board members. Mr. Reddy.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, please.
Please.
With regards to Appeal 25-10, the property known as 1000 Shirley. With regards to this particular variance, my motion would be to deny. In this particular case, I don't see any special conditions that would prevent the appellant from using the property. He currently has a garage, he or she, the appellant, currently has a garage that already exists. The board discussed several options that would allow the appellant to go ahead and increase the size of the garage if necessary. While granted, I understand it's not ideal, I just don't see the special circumstances here that would necessitate the need for us to increase an existing nonconformity. We've talked about that in a lot of other cases tonight, and that's something that I don't feel we can set a precedent for. Literal enforcement of this chapter would not result in unnecessary hardship. The appellant would still have a garage. The garage is usable. He'd still be able to park his cars. I think granting of a variance in this particular case would be contrary to the spirit and purpose of the zoning ordinance. And I do not think that the not granting a variance would change any substantial justice to the appellant or the neighborhood. For those reasons, I would move to deny.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Do we have any comments from the board? Seeing none, I guess I always like to make a few comments. I do think it's a beautiful home, and I completely appreciate what is trying to be accomplished here, and it does seem like a minor request. There are unique aspects of this lot, and I recognize that, but as is implied and suggested in Mr. Reddy's clear motion, there is no hardship. The spaces are allowed. The appellant's representative talked about turning radiuses and architectural consistencies. I'm not using the exact terminology he used, and I'm not sure those things were demonstrated, and those also are not part of the ordinance for which we can make a determination that a variance is appropriate. As for previous requests for adding to a nonconformity, we do our best to try to avoid increasing nonconformities, and even though this home is a significant home in the community, it's beautiful, adding to the nonconformity would be inconsistent with the intent of the ordinance. So for that reason, I would support the motion. We have a motion to deny. Can we please call the roll?
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Jason Caviezel,
Yes.
Kevin Hart,
Yes.
Richard Lilly,
Yes.
Eric Morgenthau,
Yes.
Peter Alda,
Yes.
Carl Cona.
Yes.
Sorry, you don't have your variance. It is a beautiful home, though. Our last and final appeal today is 25-11 for 488 Willets. And the infamous Mr. Zilke will be presenting.
Jeff Zilke here to present case 25-11, property known as 488 Willets. Request the following variance to construct a new home with an attached garage. Variance A, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08 of the zoning ordinance requires maximum roof height of a pitched roof in an R2 zone district to be 28 feet for this property. The proposed roof is 38.5 feet, therefore a variance of 10.5 feet is being requested. Variance B, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08 of the zoning ordinance requires the maximum roof height for a flat roof in an R2 zone district is 24 feet. The proposed is 32.96 feet, therefore a variance of 8.96 feet is being requested. Variance C, Chapter 126, Article 2, Section 2.08 of the zoning ordinance requires the maximum eave height for a building in an R2 zone district is 24 feet for this property. The proposed eave height is 32.96 feet, therefore a variance of 8.96 feet is being requested. And since this was published, there was some further development with the property, actually reduced the variance a little bit. So A actually went down to 9.48 feet. B is actually down to 8.46 feet, so they lost about 6 inches in the height. And then variance C is the same, it's 8.46 feet. And I'll let the appellant speak more of it. The lot, it's a new house. The lot slopes to the rear. If it was a flat lot, the front meets the requirements. It's just the height restriction going to the back is where the variances are being requested. And you got any questions for me?
So to reiterate what you said, A, B, and C would not be required if this were a flat lot.
Correct.
And it looks like the greatest variance is about 10.5 feet. Can you explain why that, because that's the eave height, right?
So the eave height is basically taking the midpoint from here when it hits the eave. So the midpoint is right at, zoom in a little bit more, in this area. So that's, as it goes to the back of the house, that's where the variance, with the sloping area in the back. So that's being higher up, and that's the eave there, so it's creating that eave height of the 28 feet, so that's where the variance is at. Flat roofs, the same kind of thing, so the concept is having a flat roof is, the 8.96 feet for the flat roof, so they're all kind of relevant with each other, but being the pitched roof, being the midpoint of the roof, and that's where the 10.5 feet, which through further development, they lost about a foot in that height.
So like in that image, is there some kind of parapet wall where the floor of the roof is lower than the height of the parapet?
Correct. The flat roof is 24 feet. You can have a parapet wall up to 3 foot. So that's where a lot of people, as you see around town, they're creating that outside balcony on that upper area. But the flat roof is being at that 24.
So we're measuring from the flat.
Correct.
And because the two variances of B and C are the same, is that actually the amount of height below the front grade that the house is, 8.96, or is it not that exact number?
It is from the back of the house, so this is the rear of the house.
From the lowest point.
Yeah, it's the lowest point.
Very good. Other questions for the city? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
No problem.
Who's speaking on behalf of this appeal? Oh, let me, one more question.
Sure.
This is a natural walkout. None of this is being manipulated with retaining walls or?
Correct.
Just kidding.
I know the neighboring house to the east just went for a variance, I want to say 2 months ago. They're in front for the same thing, sloping lot in the back.
Good. Good evening, and thank you for your time. I'm Jeff Klatt with Krieger Klatt Architects, 400 East Lincoln in Royal Oak. I'm also here with the owner and contractor, Armando Ybarra, as well, too. Oh, thanks.
Did you say owner and contractor?
Contractor as well, too. I'm not sure how to, which one flips larger. Thank you.
I think this button right here, actually.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, we have a very slight presentation, then we can answer any questions you have. But Jeff did a great job explaining the practical difficulty associated with this lot. So as was mentioned, we are requesting 3 variances, and we did tighten those up a little bit. And the primary reason was we were trying to make a case where if it was a true flat lot, the house would comply at the street line. So that was the reduction. Before, I think we were a little bit higher in some cases where we couldn't make that case. So we tightened the drawings up a bit, tightened the house dimensions, to really make a case where it would comply at the street line. And we have some graphics that might help to show that as well, too. So everything that we're showing up there is a reduction from what was the initial request. So from a general zoning analysis standpoint, when we meet all other restrictions from a setback standpoint, open space, lot coverage, it's just the building heights. And again, that's all really related to the grading condition here, which is indicated by the yellow highlighter below. This is a good graphic here that helps explain that. So on the far right, that is the existing survey of the lot. So north is up on the screen, Willits is on the bottom of the screen. And those 2 little graphics to the side are really sections or slices through the property. So the first one being north-south, that runs up and down, that's on the bottom left-hand corner. So that really shows the grading as it drops from Willits on the left-hand side, all the way down to the back of the property, or you're at a rear setback line. So that grade difference is that 9.48 feet. So that's really our variance request, that delta right there from where we sit at the street line to where we sit at the setback line at the back of the house. And to further complicate the site too, it also slopes east and west. There's about a 5-foot grade difference as we move from the east to the west of the property. So there's some complexity with how the terrain moves here. These are just a handful of images. I tried to get our drone out there today. For some reason, it wouldn't activate, and I couldn't get it off the ground. So we did our best to take a few shots from the patio. It doesn't really do it justice due to the foliage that's out here, but it kind of hints at some of the terrain difference. And I know you're well aware of this lot, or this area based on the previous variance request from the neighboring development a few months back. So again, this is a view of the front elevation south. So what this is really showing, those dimensions on the right-hand side show, and all these lines relate to what we submit in our packet. Like the upper dashed line, the red and the blue, is the midpoint of that peaked roof, kind of in the middle of the house. So what this shows is that we comply. The lower line is the flat roof height, the red. And we're actually showing that the street line, we're actually lower than that point. So we comply in all cases across the front of the house. As we move to the side, this is the west or the left-hand elevation. So you see that yellow shading really represents, what we're asking for today. So again, those numbers on the right reflect those same dimensions at the front of the house, and the numbers on the left reflect what we're asking for. So you're looking at, in the bottom middle of the screen, I'm not sure how to point to it, there's that 9.48-foot dimension right in the middle of the screen towards the lower. That really represents the variance request that we're asking for in our reduced numbers. So it's all related to the terrain. Same goes at the back side. Those are those same numbers as we reach that lower elevation, at the back. And then the same is, I think the condition's a little bit less on this side, as I mentioned, because the property is sloping east to west. So we're a little bit less here in that case from a dimensional request. But we, of course, went with the worst-case scenario, which would be on the west side of the property. So again, I think it's rare for us to request variances for a new house, new property, but I think this is a case where the lot really provides some practical difficulty here based on the terrain. So with that, that's really our practical difficulty that we can see associated with the lot, not with the house.
Very good. Any questions for the appellant? Seeing none, thank you for the thorough presentation.
Thank you.
In the audience or by Zoom or by phone, anybody have a comment?
I have a question.
Sure. You want to come on up?
Pardon me?
Want to come on up?
Sure, I can come up.
Yeah, just so you can be on microphone. You're not one of the owners or a purchaser of this home, are you not?
No, I'm not.
Very good, come on up. Just tell us your name, your address, and what your comments are.
Celeste Herpel Stewart, and we live at 520 Willett Street, which is 2 doors down,
Cool.
going down the road. I'm just curious, this has nothing to do with the variance, but I'm curious, when I look at those depictions of the house, how far back does it go?
You can direct your question to me, not
I'm sorry.
not to them. Do you have a site plan where you can answer that question? Yeah.
Like as a comparison to the current home?
They all look to align up pretty similarly. We have an image. Jeff, it's page 89. You can always go into the city office and ask questions about something being built near you. 89. There you go. So you can see how.
SD-001 shows the setbacks, the cover sheet, architectural site plan.
But you can see all three properties in line on this site plan. So they're all, they are not asking for a variance on where it sits on the
I
property.
know, I understand that.
Right.
But you said, are there any questions? So I thought,
Well, you
said,
got your,
"Come on up."
right. Any other questions?
No, that was the only question, because like I said, we're very happy. We've been there for, I think it was 6 years in January. But anyway, it is a very unique street, and probably more activity on this little block than the past 50 years.
The whole city, I think, is experiencing that, but I think it's a very cool elevation, and it does fall within the appropriate setbacks like your property.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for your comments. Seeing no other public comments, board members, do we have please?
Motion? Mr. Chairman, I would
Close this
move,
out.
yeah. I would move to approve the variances requested and tie it to the plans as submitted. I think the petitioner's architect did a pretty fine job of demonstrating and plotting out in a visual way the uniqueness of the lot, the slope, and the obvious need for some type of a variance to construct a usable house on the property. It's a very well-designed house, and the presentation was very thorough. So the uniqueness of the lot has been demonstrated, and it appears in all respects that the development will do substantial justice to the neighboring properties and to the property owner. Granting the variance does not appear to be in conflict with the spirit and intent of the ordinance, and literal enforcement of the chapter will result in an unnecessary hardship due to the unique circumstances of the lot. So for those reasons, I would move to approve the variances requested and tie them to the plans as submitted.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Seeing one from Mr. Lilly. Any comments about this particular, Mr. Hart?
Mr. Chairman, and also the appellant, I just had to comment how exceptional this package is that we got for presentation. I think everybody on this board, but reading this, how thorough and explicit everything was. This is one of the better drawing packages I think we've reviewed in a long time. But that being said, I think I will be supporting the motion because I think, as Mr. Yaldo said, that it meets all the criteria of good design, spirit, and the spirit of the law. And again, that's why I'll be supporting it.
Very good. Any other comments? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve. Can we call the roll?
Peter Aldo,
Yes.
Richard Lilly,
Yes.
Doug Morganoff,
Yes.
Ron Ready,
Yes.
Carl Cona,
Yes.
Susan Canvaser,
Yes.
Kevin Hart.
Yes.
Congratulations. You have your variance.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful home.
Oh, bang.
All right. Do we have any other business? I think we said it at the beginning.
We covered that already?
Yeah, he was going to send you an email, and
Last meeting.
he does a great job. We're sorry to, you know, all that.
So I'll send you an email later tonight confirming that.
And he's going to find us a replacement on top of that.
I'll look, I'll do my best.
Anybody in the audience that would like to talk about something that does not cover what we talked about in this, with the appeals today? Seeing none, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.